Dear Chosen One, there is a law woven into the fabric of this universe, one that transcends logic and defies manipulation. What you send out, you will eventually meet again. And right now, that law is working in your favor with terrifying precision. Those who schemed against you, who laughed at your struggle, who mistook your stillness for surrender, they're now tripping over the very traps they set. The same voices that tried to bury your name are now choking on the dust of your rise. You see, divine justice doesn't need a courtroom. It works quietly, steadily, and always on time. They underestimated the silence. They thought it meant defeat. But Chosen One, you've been rising in ways they can't measure. While they were clapping for your downfall, the universe was already rewriting your narrative. And now, the irony is poetic. They became the architects of their own downfall by obsessing over yours. Every obstacle they created became your altar. Every curse they hurled became a rung in your ladder. You are not just surviving their chaos, you are thriving because of it. Let them think they're still in control. Let them assume your destiny is on hold. But the truth? Their resistance only sped up your calling. The delay was divine. The pressure was intentional. And now, you are stepping into a power that cannot be sabotaged or silenced. They don't realize it yet, but they've been unknowingly working for your elevation all along. You are the glitch in their system, the divine anomaly they could never predict. And now, it's your turn to shake the ground they once stood on. Before we go deeper, I want to take a sacred pause to say thank you to every one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity fuels this divine assignment and helps bring light to those still wandering in darkness. And to those who simply show up, engage and receive, please know I see you. I honor you. Whether you donate or not, your presence here is a form of spiritual currency, and I'm truly grateful for it. So now, take a breath and sit with this. You didn't land on this message by accident. The energy that pulled you here, that was your higher self syncing with a truth your mind is only now beginning to grasp. Something sacred is activating in your timeline. If your spirit is stirring, if your chest feels tight like something is breaking open, trust it. That's not anxiety, that's awakening. If you're truly aligned with this energy, type 777 in the comments right now. That number marks your awareness, your readiness, your divine echo back to the universe that says, I hear the call and I'm not backing down. Stay with me through the end, Chosen One, because what's coming next will not just prepare you. It will awaken you to a destiny written in fire, sealed in purpose, and beyond anything they ever saw coming. God's chosen ones, all of you, must prepare for this day, God's call. Number 1, ignore April 31st, and you'll miss the shift. Prepare before the door closes. Have you ever woken up and felt like the air itself was whispering something different? Not a sound you could hear with your ears, but a frequency your spirit instantly recognized. A kind of atmospheric change that didn't chill your skin, but instead stirred something ancient inside your soul. God's chosen one, this is not imagination. This is alignment. What you're sensing isn't a storm, it's a shift. Why is it that some days carry more weight than others, even if the calendar treats them the same? Why is it that April 31st, a date many will overlook, holds such heavy spiritual significance for those who are truly awake? The answer is simple. Not all rotations of the earth are equal in the eyes of heaven. Some days are marked, sacred gates encoded with divine timing, and April 31st is one of them. But here's the real question. Will you notice it before the door silently swings shut? Hebrews 12:27 says, "The words, once more, indicate the removing of what can be shaken, that is, created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain." That is what you are now stepping into. Everything that can be shaken around you, Your old beliefs, false connections, outdated self-image must be removed because you are meant to be the unshakable. And this shaking has already begun. You've noticed it. The systems that once held you in place, the thoughts that used to chain your potential, are weakening. You've felt the tension, haven't you? The glitch in time, the misalignment in conversations, the way your spirit now rejects superficiality, like a body rejects poison. That's not moodiness. That's your DNA evolving. Remember when Harriet Tubman said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves." This is exactly the kind of spiritual blindness that's being lifted from you. You're being called not just to witness freedom, but to walk in it and then lead others toward it. Just as she moved through the shadows to bring others to safety, you too have been trained in your own hidden tunnels of pain and pressure. And now, you're ready to emerge, not as a victim, but as a guide. Chosen one, this isn't about just noticing change. It's about becoming the change. You're not being invited to stand on the sidelines and admire the new frequency. You're being summoned to embody it. Your calling was not meant to be convenient. It was meant to be transformational. And it begins now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but right now when the spiritual gate is open. 1 Corinthians 2:9 reminds us, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no human mind has conceived the things God has prepared for those who love Him. But in order to receive those things, you must step into the divine timing that releases them." The door doesn't wait for applause, it waits for obedience. You might wonder, what if I'm not ready? But the truth is, readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. Ask yourself, have you grown too accustomed to survival that you've forgotten how to live in divine expansion? Why is it that the moment your spirit prepares to leap, fear whispers louder? Could it be that your breakthrough is closer than it appears? Actor Viola Davis once said in her Emmy speech, "The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity." But spiritually, the same principle applies to chosen ones. The only thing that separates you from the fulfillment of your destiny is alignment. The opportunity is already present. God is not withholding it. The question is, will you recognize it in time? April 31st is not a date to fear. It's a portal to prepare for. It doesn't demand that you have everything figured out. It only asks that you pay attention. As the veil lifts, your clarity will sharpen. The things you used to tolerate will now feel unbearable. That's your sign. The people who once drained you will fall away. That's your signal. The dreams you once shelved will start whispering again. That's your confirmation. Romans 13:11 declares, "The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." This isn't poetic language. It's a divine alarm clock. You are being called, not to react but to rise, not to prepare later, but to respond now. Let's look at someone else who moved with divine timing, Galileo. His discoveries of planetary motion didn't just change science, they disrupted an entire worldview. He was ridiculed, imprisoned, and shunned. But centuries later, he is remembered not as the heretic, but as the seer. Could it be that your spiritual insights, the ones they mock now, are actually the revelations that will liberate generations? What you feel stirring inside you is not confusion, it's calibration. You're syncing up with something ancient, divine, and utterly unstoppable. And while the world laughs at calendars and ignores the pull of sacred timing, you, the one who was never meant to blend in, are aligning with heaven's schedule. So now, as this threshold approaches, I ask you one thing, chosen one. Will you pretend you don't feel it, or will you answer the call before the door closes? Number 2, stop calling it coincidence. You were chosen. Now, act like it. How many times have you narrowly escaped something terrible and brushed it off as luck? How many times has your intuition screamed at you, warning you of a path you shouldn't take, and you obeyed, only to see disaster narrowly avoided? How often have you had dreams that shook your soul, visions that stayed with you long after the world had forgotten them? Tell me, why do you keep calling it coincidence? God's chosen one, at what point will you stop pretending that divine guidance is just a series of lucky breaks? Do you really believe that survival, insight, and supernatural awareness can all be chalked up to mere chance? The world may convince you otherwise, but you were never meant to think like the world. Ephesians 2:10 tells us, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Read that again, prepared in advance. Your life is not an improvisation. It is a divine manuscript. The instincts you feel, the nudges you obey, the people you walk away from, they are all part of the choreography of your calling. When Chadwick Boseman portrayed King T'Challa in Black Panther, many didn't know he was battling terminal cancer, but he chose purpose over pain. He knew he was running out of time, yet instead of retreating, he accelerated. His entire performance was a spiritual act of courage. It wasn't coincidence that he became a global icon. It was alignment with a higher assignment. Chosen one, your delays have purpose, but your denial has cost. How long will you keep silencing the very signs that were sent to awaken you? The enemy's greatest weapon against chosen ones isn't destruction, it's distraction. If he can get you to doubt your own path, your own gift, your own knowing, then you become harmless. But your spirit doesn't lie. It's time you stopped apologizing for it. Proverbs 3:6 commands, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." You've been divinely directed all along. Even the detours were destined. Even the heartbreaks were holy setups. You were never forgotten. You were being refined. Do you remember the story of Joan of Arc? A teenage girl, untrained in battle, who claimed she was sent by God to lead an army and save a nation. She didn't have status, weapons, or approval, but she had certainty. She heard a call and answered it. And though the world condemned her as insane, heaven crowned her as a deliverer. You think your calling is too big? Good. That means it's not from you. It's from God. There's a reason you never fit in. A reason your spirit rejects environments that others settle for. A reason your heart burns when you see injustice, apathy, or wasted potential. That's not oversensitivity. That's sacred sensitivity. You feel more because you were made to carry more. And yes, it is heavy, but it's holy. Isaiah 30:21 proclaims, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" That voice is still speaking, and it's not vague. It's not whispering coincidence. It's shouting, calling. Consider the legacy of Nikola Tesla. He dreamed of wireless electricity, clean energy, and limitless power. He was misunderstood, mocked, and erased from mainstream recognition for years. But now, his name defines innovation. Why? Because visionaries are always doubted before they're celebrated. You, chosen one, are in your Tesla season. The silence surrounding your work doesn't mean failure, it means foundation. So stop labeling divine patterns as lucky guesses. Stop trying to make extraordinary things look normal just to fit in. You were never designed to fit in. You were designed to flip tables, to shake systems, to disrupt the status quo. And yes, your presence alone is enough to make some people uncomfortable. That's not your burden. That's your badge. The more you act like you're average, the more the world forgets you're chosen. But the moment you step into your divine boldness, everything starts to shift. You weren't made to echo. Your voice was crafted to initiate. You weren't made to dim. You were called to illuminate. So let them call it coincidence. Let them rationalize your glow. But you, chosen one, know better. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, survived too many impossibilities. You are not here to explain your anointing. You are here to walk in it. Number 3. Don't wait for the shaking to start. Align now or be left behind. Why do some wait until the floor beneath them splits open before they take action? Why do so many need to see disaster before they believe the warning? You, chosen one, are not meant to live that way. The world may need visible collapse to awaken, but you were given spiritual tremors long before the crowd notices. Can you feel the quiet pressure building beneath the surface? That isn't fear, it's prophecy knocking at your door. You were not created to react to chaos. You were built to prepare before it arrives. There is no honor in scrambling at the last moment, hoping to survive something you were warned about long ago. Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." This isn't just about seeing danger, it's about sensing destiny. There's a vibration in the atmosphere that the spiritually blind will miss. But not you. You've always felt the hum, haven't you? That inner tension that whispers, "Get ready. Something's coming." Chosen one, the shaking hasn't begun for the world, but it's already begun for you internally. That discomfort you feel, restlessness, unease, the urge to withdraw, is not a sign of something wrong. It's the sign of something divine. You're being pre-aligned for impact. But why is it that the moment you try to prepare, everything around you fights your focus? Is it coincidence, or is it spiritual interference trying to delay your awakening? Take a lesson from Winston Churchill. During the early rise of Nazi Germany, while many world leaders dismissed the threat, Churchill warned England of the storm brewing across Europe. He was ignored, even mocked, until the bombs fell. Then suddenly, he was the voice of reason. Why? Because chosen ones see the shaking before it reaches the surface. Churchill's alignment didn't begin in the war. It began in the whispers of premonition. You, too, must prepare while it's still quiet. John 16:13 declares, "But when He, the Spirit of truth, comes, He will guide you into all the truth, and He will tell you what is yet to come." That's the Spirit speaking to you right now. Not through chaos, but through whispers. Your inner knowing isn't paranoia, it's prophecy. And the longer you wait, the more turbulent the shift will feel. Ask yourself this: are you anchoring your soul, or are you still being swept away by distractions disguised as obligations? The end of certain friendships, the loss of appetite for old dreams, the disinterest in gossip and shallow conversation, these aren't emotional swings. They are divine signals. You are being repositioned before the quake. Those who ignore these signs will be caught mid-step, off balance, trying to grab onto things that are already crumbling. Psalm 46:2-3 reminds us, "Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. The earth may shake, but you, chosen one, must not, because you are meant to be the calm in the quake, the voice in the confusion, the pillar while others collapse." Take Oprah's early career as another example. She was fired from her first television job for being unfit for TV. But rather than wait for the world to validate her, she aligned herself with something deeper. She didn't wait for the stage to be built, she created it. And the result? A platform that has impacted generations. What might you create, chosen one, if you prepared now instead of waiting for permission? The real battle isn't the earthquake, it's what you do in the silence before it. And we are in that stillness now. This is your hour to ground yourself in prayer, to listen deeper, to let go of what no longer feeds your mission. Because when the shaking begins, those who laughed will panic. The ones who mocked your discipline will be looking to you for guidance, and you will either be anchored or lost among the debris. Matthew 7:24-25 declares, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came, the streams rose, and the winds blew, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock." Build your foundation now, chosen one. Before the first tremor splits the ground, you were never meant to run after the wave. You were designed to surf it before it forms. Don't just anticipate impact, become the impact. Align your inner world now, and when the storm comes, the world will finally see what heaven has known all along. You were the one chosen to rise through it. Number 4. Comfort will betray you. Step into the fire or stay stuck in silence. Have you mistaken your comfort zone for divine protection? Have you confused stillness with safety? Chosen one, here's the truth that many are too afraid to admit. Comfort isn't your sanctuary, it's your snare, and the longer you linger in it, the louder your purpose will scream for release. Why do you think you've been so restless lately? Why does everything familiar suddenly feel too small for your spirit? Because your soul is on fire, and no padded routine can contain it anymore. You weren't meant to be cushioned, you were meant to be forged. And every time you hesitated because the next step looked too risky, the fire didn't leave, it just buried itself deeper into your bones. Isaiah 48:10 says, "See, I have refined you, though not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." You weren't called to be polished. You were called to be purified. The fire is not your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the holy furnace where everything false is burned away and your true self is revealed. So why are you still trying to stay safe from the very flames that were sent to free you? Let's talk about Florence Nightingale. She was born into wealth, privilege, and expectation. Her family expected a life of ease, not one of service. But when she felt the call to become a nurse during the Crimean War, she walked straight into the filth and chaos of battlefield hospitals. Everyone told her she was crazy, but the fire had already touched her spirit. She stepped into it, and in doing so, revolutionized healthcare forever. Chosen one, who told you that you had to stay in the role others gave you? Who convinced you that staying silent was noble when your voice could start a revolution? Comfort will always plead with you to stay quiet, to stay hidden, to stay safe. But God didn't whisper your name into existence for silence. Revelation 3:16 reminds us, "So, because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth." You weren't chosen to live in lukewarm faith. You weren't called to half dreams, half action, half light. The fire isn't optional, it's the door. And either you step through it, or you get stuck replaying old cycles in a prettier disguise. The people around you may not understand why you've grown distant, why you no longer indulge in gossip, why you've stopped participating in empty celebrations. But they don't hear what you hear. They don't feel what you feel. You're not being antisocial, you're being recalibrated. Moses wasn't transformed on the throne of Egypt. He was transformed in the fire of the desert. God called him from a burning bush, not a golden palace. Why? Because the fire has a voice, and only those willing to step toward it will hear their true assignment. 2. Timothy 1:6 urges us, "Therefore I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you. That gift is inside you, waiting to be ignited, but it won't light up in comfort. It needs friction, it needs heat, it needs risk." Do you know who else stepped into fire and changed the world? Malala Yousafzai. At age 15, she was shot in the head for speaking up about girls' education. But that fire didn't kill her. It crowned her. She became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate in history. She chose fire over silence, and the world was forced to listen. So now it comes down to this. Chosen one, will you stay in your comfort zone, replaying the same patterns and pretending it's peace? Or will you step through the flames and let them transform you into the version of yourself that this world isn't ready for, but desperately needs? Don't fear the fire. Fear staying stuck. The longer you wait, the dimmer your flame becomes. But if you step now, even trembling, the fire won't consume you. It will complete you. Number 5. Dull hearts won't survive. This awakening, sharpen your spirit. Now. Chosen one, have you ever felt like something inside you has been quietly humming, getting louder each day, as if your soul knows something big is coming before your mind can even process it? What if I told you that this sensation is not anxiety, but alignment? That the internal pressure you feel isn't stress, but spiritual urgency? That time is no longer moving in the usual rhythm because the awakening is no longer approaching. It's already unfolding. But here's the warning. Dull hearts will not survive it. The days of spiritual laziness and emotional numbness are over. This awakening will not coddle the unprepared. Why? Because the shift that's underway isn't gentle. It's surgical. It will cut through illusions, pierce distractions, and expose everything that isn't rooted in truth. And if your heart isn't sharp, if your spirit isn't ready, you'll miss the divine opportunity disguised as disruption. Luke 12:35 commands us, "Be dressed ready for service and keep your lamps burning." That's not metaphor, it's instruction. Your spiritual lamp can't flicker in this hour. You can't afford to drift. You must be sharpened, focused, and aligned with heaven's movement. But what does that sharpening look like? It looks like being able to discern truth in chaos. It means you stop mistaking convenience for calling. It means your soul begins to crave preparation more than applause. Consider the story of Sojourner Truth. She was born into slavery, couldn't read or write, and had every earthly disadvantage imaginable. Yet she became one of the most powerful voices of abolition and women's rights in American history. She didn't wait to be polished. She allowed life's trials to sharpen her voice, her purpose, and her spiritual authority. What about you, chosen one? Have you let life refine you? Or have you let it dull you with bitterness and fear? Romans 13:12 declares, "The night is nearly over, the day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light." Dull hearts cling to darkness because it feels comfortable. Sharp hearts move toward light because they know that's where transformation lives. You've already been tested. You've already survived things others wouldn't talk about. So, why are you doubting your readiness now? Look at the life of Ludwig van Beethoven. As his hearing deteriorated, the world expected his gift to disappear. But he wrote his greatest masterpiece, the Ninth Symphony, when he was completely deaf. How? Because he wasn't listening with ears, he was listening with a sharpened spirit. His awareness of sound transcended physical limitation. That's the level of clarity God wants to give you, but you have to choose to tune in. You've been trained in the quiet. You've been sharpened through battles others never saw. That pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every betrayal, every setback, every lonely night carved your awareness into a fine blade. And now, chosen one, it's time to wield it. But make no mistake, the dull will not pass through this next gate. They will falter, they will be caught in loops of confusion. And the only ones who will rise are those who have trimmed the fat of fear and awakened their inner fire. Hebrews 5:14 says, "But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil." The dull eat what they are fed. The sharp prepare their spiritual meals. You've reached a point where you can no longer depend on others to feed you truth. You must seek it yourself. You must be hungry. You must be active. Now think of Frida Kahlo. Her body was broken by a bus accident, but her spirit was unshakable. She turned her pain into color, her wounds into art. She painted not what was seen, but what was hidden beneath. Her awareness was sharp, not just of the world, but of her own soul. And that sharpness outlived her suffering. Chosen one, will yours? Ask yourself now, are you still numbing yourself with false comfort? Are you still avoiding the very calling you prayed for because it feels uncomfortable? Are you waiting for a moment of clarity, or are you creating it through daily discipline? This isn't a drill. This is the real thing. Ephesians 6:13 reminds us, "Therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground." You don't put on armor in the middle of battle. You wear it beforehand. You've been given everything you need, but if your heart stays dull, you'll misuse it. You'll miss the cues. You'll sleep through the trumpet. So sharpen now. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, let go of what numbs you. Cancel the distractions. Raise your standards. You are not preparing for a storm. You are preparing for a divine unveiling. And only those who've honed their edge will cut through the veil and rise in their full authority. You weren't made to survive this awakening. You were made to lead it. Number 6, don't let this global move pass you. Your role was written before time. Have you ever felt like the entire world is holding its breath, but only a few can feel it? That silent tension in the air, that invisible hand shifting the direction of everything around you. It's not just global events, it's divine choreography. And the deeper truth, you are part of it. You are not watching from the sidelines. You were written into this moment long before you took your first breath. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." This, right now, is your appointed season. The world is moving. The heavens are stirring. And if you're still waiting for a sign, let this be the one that shakes your soul awake. You are running out of time to remain dormant. God's chosen one, your role was etched into the foundation of time itself. That restlessness you feel, it's your soul remembering its assignment. That discomfort with ordinary life, it's your divine DNA rejecting mediocrity. That fire you can't explain, it's heaven tapping your shoulder saying, "Now." So why are you still waiting to act like you're chosen? Take Mahalia Jackson, the gospel singer who refused to water down her voice even when pressured to sing secular music for fame. She knew her calling wasn't to entertain, it was to awaken. Her performance at the March on Washington stirred the atmosphere before Martin Luther King Jr. took the stage. She didn't lead the march, but her voice opened the heavens. Your role doesn't have to look like the spotlight, it only has to sound like obedience. Psalm 139 verse 16 tells us, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." This moment isn't new to God, it's remembered. You were destined to awaken now because the world needs your awareness. The noise of this generation is loud, but your clarity can cut through it like lightning. Think of Greta Thunberg, a young girl who chose to speak truth about climate justice. She didn't come with credentials or endorsements. She came with conviction, and the world listened. What do you think will happen when you, chosen by heaven, decide to rise with your truth? You weren't chosen to be loud. You were chosen to be effective. This global move isn't optional. It's unfolding. And every second you hesitate, you risk letting your moment pass by. But don't you dare believe the lie that you missed your chance. You're not late. You're right on divine time. But now, heaven is asking, will you move with me? 1 Peter 2:9 reminds us, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him. You weren't just saved for survival, you were appointed for declaration. You were preserved for impact. So why are you sitting quietly while the earth groans for your voice? Even Nelson Mandela, after 27 years in prison, walked out not with bitterness but with vision. He didn't fight the global shift of his time with anger. He moved with grace, timing, and purpose. His emergence was delayed, but his destiny was not denied. You may feel delayed too, but heaven has not forgotten your name. Ask yourself now, chosen one, what would it look like if you actually lived like your role was pre-written by God? What choices would you make differently today? What would you stop postponing? What would you speak? What would you build? And who would you become if you believed your place in this global shift was already reserved? Romans 8:19 says, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." That's you. The earth is waiting on your activation, not later, not when you're more ready. Now, the move is already happening. The timelines are colliding. The spiritual infrastructure is realigning. And the only question that remains is this: will you miss your moment, or will you step into it with the full authority of someone whose name was written in fire before the foundations of the earth? Chosen one, this is not a rehearsal. This is the moment your soul has been whispering about in the dark. Rise now, because once this global wave passes, it will be too late to jump aboard. And when it crashes, you were either one of the voices steering it or one of the names lost in its roar. Number 7. Spot the imitators, early or be led into a spiritual trap. Chosen one, have you ever met someone or walked into a situation that looked perfect on the outside, but deep down, something didn't feel right? That invisible tug at your spirit wasn't paranoia, it was discernment. You see, when you're called by God, not everything that glitters is gold. In fact, the most dangerous deceptions are those that look like everything you've been praying for. So let me ask you, how do you discern the difference between divine alignment and spiritual distraction? How do you protect yourself when the enemy stops using obvious weapons and starts using beautiful imitations? Matthew 7:15 warns us, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves." Imitators don't arrive wearing red flags. They arrive wrapped in language you trust, cloaked in roles that seem familiar. They might use sacred words, talk about elevation, and mimic the movements of the truly awakened, but their spirit carries no weight. They echo truth but lack power. And if you're not spiritually sharp, you'll follow their rhythm right into a spiritual trap. Chosen one, you must understand this. Spiritual deception often sounds like inspiration. That's what makes it deadly. It's not there to scare you, it's there to seduce you. And in a world obsessed with trends, buzzwords, and superficial spirituality, you have to look deeper. You've been trained for this. God has allowed certain betrayals, disappointments, and exposures in your life, not to break you, but to build your discernment radar so finely tuned that even the most convincing mask cannot fool you. Let's take the story of Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos. She promised a revolution in healthcare, painless blood tests, miraculous results, life-saving technology. And for a while, the world believed her. She modeled herself after Steve Jobs, spoke with conviction, and built a billion-dollar empire until it was revealed it was all a lie. She didn't just deceive investors, she deceived the hope of millions. That's how powerful false light can be. Chosen one, you must ask, who is whispering to your potential but guiding you away from your purpose? 2 Corinthians 11:14-15 states, "And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants masquerade as servants of righteousness." You were never meant to trust based on appearance or performance. You were called to trust the vibration, the resonance. If something does not align with your soul, even if everyone else applauds it, you must walk away. Imitators are sent to exploit your spiritual hunger. They know you want growth. They know you're tired of waiting. That's why they offer shortcuts, instant validation, premature platforms. But a true calling can't be microwaved. It's marinated in seasons of pressure, solitude, and pruning. If they promise a crown without the cross, run. If they offer fame without refining, flee. Think of the actor River Phoenix. He was immensely gifted, spiritually curious, and carried the weight of fame from a young age. But he became entangled in a Hollywood lifestyle, disguised as liberation. The illusion consumed him before his purpose fully unfolded. It wasn't that he lacked talent, it was that the system placed false lights around him, and no one taught him how to spot them early. Chosen one, you won't get that excuse. You've been trained, you've been warned, you've been spiritually equipped to see past the illusion. Don't second-guess your gut when something feels off. That's not fear, it's prophetic insight. Don't get caught up in charisma and mischaracter. Don't mistake applause for alignment. Not everyone clapping for you wants to see you ascend. 1 John 4:1 reminds us, "Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God." You have that authority. You've earned that discernment. Use it. And if something in your spirit whispers, "No," don't argue. Don't delay. Don't rationalize. Just move. Now ask yourself, who around you is mirroring your message but doesn't carry your anointing? Who's offering you a partnership, a platform, or even a love story that seems ideal, but your spirit stays unsettled? Don't ignore the unease. The imitators always arrive before the real door opens, to distract, detour, and devour the unprepared. Even the Pharisees in Jesus' time knew Scripture, quoted the law, and held influence. But they couldn't recognize the living truth standing right in front of them. Why? Because imitation can't perceive authenticity. But authenticity will always spot imitation. So be still, be watchful. Your destiny is too precious to hand over to a well-dressed lie. You're not desperate, you're chosen. Stay aligned, stay sharpened, and trust. What's real will not require confusion. Number 8, avoid the flames and you'll stay impure. Walk through the fire to be ready. Chosen one, has life ever felt like it's pushing you too hard? Too many challenges, too many moments where you thought, why me? But let me offer you a divine perspective. What if all the heat you've faced wasn't about punishment, but purification? You were never meant to arrive in your calling untested. God doesn't send unshaped vessels to carry heavy glory. He refines them in fire, not to destroy them, but to ready them. And every flame you've faced has been intentional. But here's the choice. Walk through it or remain incomplete. Zechariah 13:9 speaks to this truth. I will put them into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. Fire isn't for the weak. But you, chosen one, were built for it. You've survived what others couldn't. And now you're being called to move beyond survival into sanctification. You can't carry divine authority if you're still dodging discomfort. There's no elevation without exposure, and the fire is heaven's cleansing tool. It removes the fake, the fearful, the fractured parts of you that you've outgrown. You've been asking for expansion, haven't you? You've prayed for impact. Then the fire is your answer. Let's look at Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist. He walked through literal fire, through the camps of Auschwitz, yet came out with a message that changed the psychology of human meaning. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, wasn't born from comfort, but from combustion. His purpose was forged in the unimaginable, and so is yours. Hebrews 12:11 reminds us, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness." Pain is not always the enemy. In fact, in the spiritual realm, pain is often a midwife to power. If you dodge the labor, you abort the legacy. You may be asking, how much more fire do I have to walk through? The answer, just enough to remove what's not truly you. Not the you they molded, not the version of you that's been performing for acceptance, but the real you, divine, brave, unapologetically on fire. Look at the life of Florence Welch, lead singer of Florence plus the Machine. She speaks openly about addiction, depression, and spiritual searching. Her songs are hymns of transformation because her fire wasn't private. She walked through it in front of the world, trembling but honest. And from it she birthed art that transcends trends. You too, chosen one, have music in your spirit, but it can only be composed after the burning. Isaiah 43:2 gives a sacred promise. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. That's not just poetry. That's your covenant. You've been fire-tested before, haven't you? Think back. Every moment where you thought, this is the end, became the beginning. Every fall that looked final became fuel for a deeper rise. That's the proof. And now it's time again. Another level, another blaze. But this time you don't walk in confused. You walk in prepared. This time you're not asking, why me? You're declaring, make me ready. Because what's coming requires the purest version of your soul. No residue, no doubt. Just holy fire. Ask yourself now, what part of your identity is still hiding from the flames? What habits, relationships, beliefs are you still clinging to, fearing that their loss will hurt too much? What if that very pain is the last gate before your breakthrough? Chosen one, fire doesn't take from you. It reveals what was eternal in you all along. And when you walk through it with surrender, something unshakable emerges. Romans 5:3-4 says, "We glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope." That hope is what you carry for the world, but it must be born from fire, not fantasy. So face the heat. Walk through the center of it. Let it burn away the performance, the passivity, the pleasing. And what will remain is a vessel so purified, so potent, that no gate of hell will be able to stand against it. This is not the time to escape. This is the time to endure. Your calling is fireproof. Now prove that your faith is too. Number 9. Stop chasing popular voices. Train your discernment before it's too late. Chosen one, have you ever noticed how loud the world has become? Every screen, every platform, every influencer claims to hold the secret. They shout over each other, promising breakthroughs, success, peace, and popularity. If only you'll follow them. But why does it all feel so empty once the noise fades? Why do their answers sound hollow in the silence of your soul? You weren't created to chase echoes. You were born to carry the voice of truth. John 10:5 reminds us, "They will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice." You have a spiritual voice print etched into your being, a divine tuning fork that vibrates when truth is near. But in a world full of noise, your discernment must be trained, or you'll be seduced by popularity and miss purpose entirely. The crowd will always applaud the easiest lie. The masses flock to the loudest mic, not the deepest message. So ask yourself, why are you still seeking validation from voices that have never walked in your shoes? Why do you allow yourself to be swayed by those who don't even carry your assignment. Look at Vincent van Gogh. He sold only one painting during his lifetime. The world saw madness where God had planted genius. If he had listened to the popular voices, if he had abandoned his art to fit their mold, we would have lost a legacy. But he followed a voice the world couldn't hear, the one inside him. Romans 12:2 exhorts us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That transformation doesn't come from external applause. It comes from internal clarity. And clarity isn't found in trending reels or empty affirmations. It's forged in silence, in solitude, in spiritual training. Popular voices often package mediocrity in glamour. They say what you want to hear, but they don't have the authority to carry what you need to hear. And here's the deeper truth. Most of them are not trying to help you. They're trying to sell to you, distract you, or shape you into a reflection of themselves. You're not a consumer, you're a chosen one, and you cannot afford to confuse charisma with calling. Actress and humanitarian Audrey Hepburn said it best, "If I get married, I want to be very married." That same all-in commitment is what heaven requires from you, not to people, but to purpose. You can't halfway discern. You can't half listen to truth. You must be fully tuned, fully aware, fully aligned. 1 Kings 19:12 gives us a holy clue. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. The Lord wasn't in the drama, the spectacle, or the explosion. He was in the whisper. The quieter you become, the more clearly you'll hear him. So, how do you train your discernment? Stop chasing clout. Start chasing stillness. Turn off the need for constant input and begin tuning your spirit to the patterns of peace, clarity, and conviction. Discernment grows in environments where ego dies. Think about Nikola Tesla, long overlooked by his more commercially appealing contemporaries. He lived in isolation, misunderstood, and often mocked, but his vision powered the future. That's what spiritual discernment does. It doesn't make noise, it makes impact. Now, chosen one, here's the question you must answer. Are you spending more time scrolling through everyone else's voice than you are listening to your own? Have you placed your ear so close to the crowd that you've forgotten the sound of heaven? Galatians 1:10 demands reflection. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Your alignment is not for applause, it's for assignment. When you stop chasing the noise, something beautiful happens. You hear your name again. You hear your calling with clarity. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And from that space, your real power emerges, not echoed, not borrowed, but sovereign. So stop running after borrowed voices. Start stewarding your own. The time is now. Discernment isn't optional, it's your survival. Will you train it, or will you be led into the trap of distraction like so many before you? Chosen ones don't echo, they declare. Number 10. Lose focus. Lose everything. Be the lighthouse when the storm breaks. What happens when the winds scream, the clouds thicken, and the world begins to fracture? What do you do when the pressure around you grows louder than the peace within? This, chosen one, is when many falter, but not you, because your clarity is your calling, your focus is your force. Proverbs 4:25-27 exhorts, "Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Do not swerve to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil." The moment you lose focus, you don't just delay your purpose, you risk forfeiting it. In spiritual warfare, distraction is the deadliest weapon, because if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to divide your attention until you self-destruct. You were not born to be tossed around by every wave of culture, chaos, and crisis. You were created to be the lighthouse, unmoved, radiant, and anchored in God. Your very presence is supposed to guide others through the darkness. But you cannot guide others if you're still spinning in your own storm. Florence Nightingale once walked into war zones with nothing but a lantern and a purpose. The world called her a nurse, but she was a spiritual warrior. Her light, literal and symbolic, pierced through sickness, fear, and death. She didn't just treat the wounded. She became a standard for healing. That's what chosen ones do. They shine when others collapse. James 1:6 warns us, "The one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind." Focus isn't a suggestion, it's your shield. The moment you give your focus to fear, to worry, to opinion, you begin to drift. But when your focus is rooted in your divine mission, storms become stages, and the higher the waves rise, the brighter your light becomes. Ask yourself this: what's been fighting for your attention lately? Who or what has crept into your space, trying to dim your concentration, distort your timing, or poison your clarity? Because here's the truth: what distracts you also disarms you, and you can't afford to be unarmed right now. Look at Harriet Beecher Stowe. Her novel Uncle Tom's Cabin didn't just entertain, it ignited a moral fire that helped end slavery. She didn't wait for society to approve her focus. She channeled her entire being into her message, and it rewrote history. Chosen one, you carry words, actions, and presence that can do the same, but only if you stay focused. Psalm 121, 1-2 reminds us, "I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord." That upward focus is what keeps you grounded. You don't look around in the storm, you look above it. The storm is not your punishment, it's your proving ground. While others lose sleep, you find strategy. While others react, you remain rooted. That's why you've been misunderstood. That's why your peace irritates those in panic. Because you are the lighthouse, and that light is a threat to darkness. Even Mahatma Gandhi, leading a revolution against empire, did so through stillness and focus. He didn't raise a sword, he raised a standard. He showed the world that unshakable focus on truth, on peace, on divine justice can move entire nations. So, chosen one, here is the final question. Will you let this storm define you, or will you define the atmosphere around it? Philippians 3:14 declares, "I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." Keep pressing, keep shining, keep standing, because when this storm breaks, millions will look for a light, and you, your discipline, your devotion, your direction, will be the beacon. You were made for this moment. You weren't placed in the middle of the chaos to hide from it. You were chosen to command it. Be the lighthouse. The world doesn't need another echo of panic. It needs the sound of unwavering peace, and that sound is you. Number 11. Forget the spotlight. Claim your spiritual authority in the shadows. Chosen one, have you ever wondered why your life has been shaped in quiet places? Why your deepest growth didn't happen on stages but in solitude? Why your most powerful breakthroughs came when no one was watching? That's not a mistake. That's design. You were never meant to be paraded. You were meant to be prepared. In a culture obsessed with image and applause, spiritual depth is countercultural. The world teaches that if your name isn't trending, if your voice isn't amplified, then you must not matter. But chosen ones, we don't build power through noise. We build it through silence. And that silence, though misunderstood by many, is the womb of authority. Luke 5:16 says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Even the Son of God, who could have commanded instant attention, chose obscurity to sharpen his mission. You too are being formed in hiddenness. Your strength isn't found in being seen. It's found in staying aligned when no one is clapping. You've felt it, haven't you? The pull toward purpose when no one understood. The clarity that came in your wilderness seasons. The sacred fire that ignited not on a platform, but in a prayer whispered through tears. This is your spiritual gym. And while others flaunt their highlight reels, you've been lifting the heavy weight of integrity, obedience, and truth. Think about Vincent van Gogh, not the posthumous icon we know today, but the man who painted masterpieces in silence, only to be rejected, misunderstood, and dismissed by the world. Yet, in his solitude, he birthed eternity on canvas. His legacy wasn't forged in fame, it was forged in devotion. Proverbs 18:12 reminds us, "Before a downfall the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor." That's why your humility isn't weakness, it's your weapon. You don't need applause to validate your calling. Your consistency in secret carries more weight than 1,000,000 followers. Because heaven doesn't count likes, it counts obedience. The question is, can you remain faithful when no one is watching? Can you stay focused when no one is affirming? Can you hold the line when the world tells you that success looks like attention? Because what's coming for you isn't a moment of spotlight. It's a mantle of authority, and those who can't handle the shadows will never be trusted with the light. Mother Teresa lived in the slums of Calcutta for decades, tending to the sick and forgotten. She wasn't searching for headlines, she was searching for the face of God in the poor. Her spiritual authority shook empires, not through loud declarations, but through quiet service. Her life proved that the greatest missions are often lived in silence. Isaiah 30:15 tells us, "In quietness and trust is your strength." The world may confuse your stillness for stagnation, but heaven knows its preparation. They may not see you coming, but they will feel you arrive. Because chosen ones don't announce their rise. They emerge fully formed from years of hidden fire. So now, chosen one, let me ask, are you ready to stop craving recognition and start embracing refinement? Are you willing to exchange the spotlight for strategy, the praise for purpose, the attention for anointing? Because the ones who lead in the age to come will not be those who shined early. It will be those who burned steadily in the unseen, becoming unshakable when the world started shaking. You've already been given authority. It just hasn't been revealed yet. But soon, very soon, your silence will echo louder than the world's noise. And when it does, don't say you weren't warned. You are not here to be famous. You are here to be eternal. Number 12. Procrastinate and you'll regret it. Move now or miss the mantle forever. Chosen one, have you been waiting? Waiting for the right time, the perfect conditions, the final confirmation to step forward. Here's the hard truth. Your waiting is costing you, not just time, not just peace, but the very mantle you were born to carry. Because destiny doesn't delay itself for hesitation. It moves with or without your cooperation. James 4:17 speaks clearly. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. Delay may feel harmless, but in the spiritual realm, it's disobedience. And right now, heaven is issuing an urgent call. Move. Don't pray about it another week. Don't weigh the risks another night. Don't stall until you feel more worthy. You are already chosen. The only thing missing is your movement. Think about the people you've watched step into roles you once envisioned for yourself. Do you ever wonder if it was meant to be you? That stirring in your chest, that ache when you see others living the life you dream about, is not jealousy. It's revelation. It's the Spirit reminding you, this was yours, had you moved. Esther 4:14 echoes through time. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Yes, chosen one, someone else can take your place. God's plan will not fail, but your role in it might shift if you don't step up. The world isn't waiting for your fear to subside. The assignment is here, and it's already in motion. Ask yourself, what have you been delaying? What vision have you let gather dust on your spiritual shelf? What conversations, creations, or commitments have you postponed, telling yourself you're not ready? Here's the sobering truth. You will never feel ready. But faith doesn't wait for readiness. It moves through obedience. Look at Sarah Breedlove, known to the world as Madam C.J. Walker. The first self-made female millionaire in America and a black woman during an era of suffocating oppression. She didn't wait for economic justice. She built her own economy. She didn't wait for opportunity. She created it with hair products and divine boldness. The mantle on her life demanded action, not perfection. Hebrews 3:15 says, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." It doesn't say tomorrow. It doesn't say when you feel stronger. It says today. Because every second you delay, the spiritual window narrows. And if you keep ignoring the pull, the door will shut and regret will remain. Think of the Titanic. That ship had multiple iceberg warnings, yet leadership chose to maintain speed, assuming they had time. History knows how that ended. Now let me ask you, what iceberg is up ahead that only your obedience can help you avoid? Procrastination is not passive. It is active sabotage dressed as safety. And chosen ones cannot afford that kind of deception, because what you're carrying isn't just for you. It's for every soul connected to your breakthrough. Imagine if Moses had said, "I'll go tomorrow." Imagine if Ruth had stayed behind in Moab. Imagine if Jesus had delayed the cross by even one day. History would have unraveled. The same is true for you. There are lives waiting on the other side of your yes. Don't let them wait forever. 2 Corinthians 6:2 makes it clear. I tell you, now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. Not next week. Not next year. Now. So here is the final question. Chosen one, will you let hesitation rob you of heaven's release? Or will you rise, trembling if you must, but ready to catch the mantle that is hovering over your life in this very moment? Because here's the truth. Mantles don't fall on the prepared. They fall on the obedient. You don't need more proof. You don't need more time. You need to move. This is it. This is your opening. The mission is alive. The path is clear. The door is open. But it won't stay that way forever. Move. Now. Or miss it forever. Beloved chosen one, if you've made it this far, it means something deep inside of you already knows. You were never meant to play small. You were never meant to drift through life waiting for the perfect time. You were meant to rise, to move, and to answer the call no matter the cost. This wasn't just a message. This was a mirror, a divine reflection showing you the fire that's already been lit inside your spirit. You've spent long enough waiting, questioning, hesitating, but now you know too much. You've seen too much. You've felt the weight of the calling pressing on your chest for far too long, and you can no longer ignore it. You weren't just chosen to survive. You were chosen to shift the atmosphere, to move when others stand still, to trust when others doubt, and yes, to leap before you even know how deep the water runs, because faith doesn't wait for comfort. It creates momentum where fear would have planted delay. The time for second guessing is over. The moment to step into everything that's already been prepared for you is now. And as you rise, remember, the gates of favor, abundance, alignment, and divine timing will not open to hesitation. They respond to movement. To every soul who has walked this 12-part journey with me, thank you. Your presence matters more than you know. Whether you've liked, shared, commented, or simply sat in silence as these words stirred your spirit, thank you for allowing this sacred conversation to take root in your life. To those who have supported this mission through Super Thanks, know that your generosity is never taken for granted. You are helping keep this light burning for others, still searching for their moment of clarity. And to those who may not be in a position to give financially, know this: your energy, your engagement, and your presence are deeply honored. You are just as loved, just as valued, and just as essential to this movement. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of your rise. I speak blessings over your life now. May courage find you when you're afraid. May clarity find you when you're uncertain. And may divine momentum find you when you choose to move. You are covered, you are guided, you are equipped. Now go forward with boldness. The universe has already shifted in your favor, and heaven is waiting to back every step you dare to take. Type "I'm ready" in the comments if you feel it in your bones that this moment was meant for you. And if this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, subscribe, share, and invite others to walk this path beside you. Your mantle is waiting. Your rise begins now.